Shin on Kyuzo podcast, episode doughy egg. Episode 12 of the Kyuzo Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu podcast. Maybe episode 12, not so sure. Might be 11. Depends on what order these come out in, to be honest. Not to move the veil of professionality, but we do record these in different orders, depending on who's available and at what time. But this is a Q&A podcast this week. I am dealing with several questions that you've posted in and asked about, one of which is a little controversial. I'm going to see if it makes the edit. Let's see if it survives. Before we do any of that, though, I have been encouraged by my producer to say the following. Like, share, subscribe. It really helps us, I am told. It really helps us get on the algorithm train. As it shoots past, we managed to grab on like a cowboy on a horse, galloping alongside and grab onto the algorithm. Quick. It's going to take us on down to El Paso. Okay, that's a weird way to start it, but it's true. If you like and share, we try to generate positivity, and we try to give good content here for you to talk about, opportunities to ask your questions, obviously interviews with interesting people from Jiu-Jitsu. And the reason we do that is to try to generate a really positive vibe and to help the community out here a little bit. The way that you can do that is by doing all those little clicks that you're going to do right now, hopefully. Like, share, subscribe, etc., etc. It really helps, and it helps spread a really positive message. So stick it in your WhatsApp groups, your Jiu-Jitsu WhatsApp groups. Share it on your Instagram story. Do whatever the hell it is you do on YouTube. I'm not 100% sure. I am told, reliably informed, that this is important. For me, though, hearing the words algorithm, content and stuff like that is just word salad. But to those in the know, apparently, it's a big deal. Big deal. But I'm going to focus on what I'm doing right now, which is trying to do this podcast without putting it over the line for the YouTube filters about bad language and sexually explicit content. I'll explain what that is in a while. Just leave it with me. Just hang in there. So, first of all, a little bit of more housekeeping. If you didn't listen to the Lindsay Radigan podcast, the previous one, then you must not like making weight for competition. You must not like being better on the mat, and you must not like your own performance, because the only excuse for not listening to that podcast about nutrition is that you hate yourself and you want to be crap, right? That's the only excuse. Lindsay, I contacted her actually on a whim one day. I literally had heard that somebody had cancelled, and we didn't have an episode, an interview for that month. And I went, oh no. And I just was online. I saw one of her posts, and it was actually about the menstrual cycle and for weight cutting for women. And I read it and I thought interesting. And I thought, hey, I bet she'd be an interesting interview. So it was actually really spur of the moment. And she was able to come out the next week. And I'm going to go ahead and say, I think it was our best episode, yeah. Really informative. She's so easy to talk to. And she breaks down the science of nutrition and performance in a really easy and understandable way. Listen to it now. Well, listen to it after you've listened to this one. I think you'll really, really get something from it, and you'll really, really enjoy it. So thank you very much, Lindsay, for coming out. The podcast is about 90 minutes long. Go for a walk with the dog. Listen to it on your commute, on your way home, and to and from work. It's probably a little long to do to work. Unless you did it double time. You hit it that double speed thing. Maybe. But do listen to it. It's going to be great. You won't regret it. Next episode after this is with Robert Drysdale. Again, maybe Robert's will top it. I've listened back to some of the content that we did record. Robert is not shy with his opinions about modern jiu-jitsu, about the history of jiu-jitsu, and what we need to do in terms of helping it to grow and keep its, I guess, its ethical culture. Such as it is, I guess, which will be related to, again, our conversation that we're going to have later. So without further ado, I'll get to the questions. Let me have a sip of coffee first, and then we'll... Okay, this... there you go, a word from our sponsor, Aldi Coffee. Aldi Coffee Pods. When you absolutely, positively want to feel like you're drinking soil, but also want the minor effects of crack cocaine, except no substitute. Jesus. Oh. Anyway, So, first question today was, I'll run through the questions really quickly actually first. So we're going to be talking about Polaris. I was asked about Polaris last weekend. Next question would be how to fast track your progress through seminars, privates, to get through the belts quicker. Next question after that is my opinion on the Craig Jones, Gordon Ryan rivalry, etc., and how I think they've impacted the popularity of jiu-jitsu. Yeah, I've got an opinion on that. And then the final one is tell the story about banning the Bulls rash guard from your gym, which I guess is kind of related. And that's the one I'm talking about when I talk about sexually explicit content and stuff like that. I'm going to try and skirt around it because I don't want to use terms, words that I don't really like using. But I guess I will tell that story because, again, I think it's a culturally significant thing, right? Okay, but let's start first of all. Polaris was on last weekend. I didn't get to watch the women's teams event, which was the Team USA team against Team UK. I heard it was fantastic. I heard it was really, really exciting to watch live. I will try and watch it. It might have lost something I know the result, so I might have lost something on the replays. But what I did get to watch, because I was traveling, I was actually on holiday and I was due to travel the next day, so I only got to watch a couple of bits. So I made sure I tuned in for Jack Dolan and Mohammed from SBG, whose surname I consistently get wrong, so I won't try. My first time watching Mohammed, and he was fighting Ona Flanagan. So Ona Flanagan, top leg locker in Europe, thereabouts. Certainly top 3, and then worldwide top 10 maybe. So unbelievable leg lock game, and he did submit Mohammed with a beautiful Z lock later on. But I was so impressed. I think Mohammed is 22 years of age. Man, I was really, really impressed. Impressed with the guard passing. Obviously impressed with his dynamism. His cardio must be. He must work hard on that because, man, he can go. And I think he passed Stone's guard like 2 or 3 times, which is really impressive. Look, super performance. I was really, really impressed. So I tuned in for him, obviously, late on. And I tuned in earlier on for Jack Dolan, because Jack has been on the podcast here. And of course, I know Jack through the 2 tournaments and know him quite a while. He's around a long time in jiu-jitsu in Ireland. And he submitted his opponent with a beautiful calf crusher from the back, a submission that I love. I've been using that for a long time, and then I've stopped using it because I'm really afraid of my own knee. I tore my knee on that side that I use it on, so I stopped using it in training. And then now I've got the goo to do it again now. So Jack's reignited that fire in me. I'm going to try and do that tonight at training. So, well done to Jack, well done to Mohammed, flying the flag, and well done to Polaris, who have created a really top professional show with no gimmicks, no frills, no bullshit. It is just a great professionally produced and competed at event that I think it's given a great platform to so many European, UK in particular, of course, but European-based athletes. So many Irish guys have had a run on it as well, and obviously they get guys in the US and Brazil as well. But the real crux of it is that Europe has a really top show there that attracts people from audiences worldwide. So Irish athletes are getting a tremendous platform there up on UFC Fight Pass as well. So well done to Polaris, and well done to Mohammed and Jack, representing Ireland so well as well at this particular event. Okay, next question. So I'll actually get the actual terminology of this correct. So I'm not reading my phone, by the way, when I'm looking at this. I have my questions written down. So how best to fast track your progress through seminars, privates, etc., to get your next belt. So the idea here, I think, is that you're thinking about making progress to get your next belt in jiu-jitsu, your blue belt, your purple belt, your brown belt, whatever it is. I don't think anybody, I'm going to make a wild stab, I don't know what belt or grade you are, but I don't think anybody at brown belt is asking that question to get the black belt, because in my experience, when you're at brown belt, you have a mortal fear that when you walk into the room one day, the guy at the top of the class is going to say, and now you're a black belt. It's a terrifying experience. even though you might be expecting it. So the first thing I would say is that when I started out in jiu-jitsu, Fado, the only belt I really wanted to get was my blue belt. And I just chipped away at it, and eventually I got it. And I think I was about 2.5 years getting my blue belt. Then after that, I didn't want my purple belt. I didn't want to get it. I was like, nope, I want to be the best purple belt. I don't want to just get it. I don't want to scrape over the line and get it like I got 51% in the exam. I want to be like the 100% guy. And I was the same when I wanted to get my brown belt. I said, okay, I want to be the best brown belt I can possibly be. Not the best brown belt in the world, but the best that I can possibly be. And the same when I was thinking about my black belt as well. And on each occasion I got my belt, I always felt like an imposter anyway, right? I think you have that imposter syndrome that kicks in early doors. So what I would say to you is, and that was my experience, by the way, with everybody, bar one or two guys in that era, we were terrified of getting promoted. It was like, no, I don't want it yet. I want to be as good as that guy over there who has that belt already. Then I want it. So I think jiu-jitsu has changed in that way, where now people think about belts and they think about sort of getting to the next level. That's when they get to the next level. But the reality is what used to happen was you kind of organically got to the level, and then the guy went, okay, now we're ready. But of course, things have changed. Jiu-jitsu is much larger, it's much more popular, and there's very different ways of promoting people as well. So I would say, first of all, don't be in a rush. Don't be in a hurry. If you're going for a qualification, you're not going to get a job out of it. So it's not like, well, I got my blue belt now, so now I got a promotion and I'll get 10 grand extra a year. You're going to be in jiu-jitsu hopefully your whole life. So hopefully if you're, I don't know what age you are. Does it say? No, I don't know who you are. Okay. So I'm going to assume you're the average person. So you're mid to late 20s, early 30s, whatever it is, which would be about the average person. So hopefully you're going to be 20 years in grappling, maybe more. And when the time comes for you to get a belt, or when you look back when you have your black belt, 6 months or 1 year more at that grade really isn't going to make much of a difference. It doesn't make much odds. But if you're thinking about learning intensively and you want to improve rapidly, rather than thinking about the belts as the signifier of that, then I think, yeah, there's definitely room for privates. You will improve with private lessons. They're pricey. Nobody gives up an hour of their time and an hour of their experience for cheap, and they're dead right to. They should be charging a premium price. That's I think so. I think, in my opinion. Secondly, there's seminars. Seminars can be good if you're working on something in particular, or you want to add a new aspect to your game. Going to a seminar can be really good. I know of several times where a new game or new type of thing was introduced to me through seminars, and it became a part of my game. It became a part of what I do and what I teach. But those are relatively rare. Most of the time I'll pick up a single detail or a small thing. So I'm not sure about that being a fast track to improvement or a fast track to next belts. One fast track I think is significant, and I think genuinely will give you that bump of a couple of, maybe you could talk about it maybe in terms of like a couple of months of advancement in training, is a camp. I think camps are really good. I think if I was gonna advise anybody to like intensively do something, it would be camps rather than privates. Like a weekend or week camps, even just a weekend. So if you do 4 sessions in 4 days, it doesn't sound like much, because of course you're going to do 4 sessions in a week if you just train normally, right? But if it's 4 sessions in 4 days with other people on the camp, with especially if it's on like one topic, or one type of thing, I think that's a real positive. That's really good. And I think it does have a significant impact, in my view, if you do it right. If you train intensively, if you're taking notes afterwards, I think that camps can fast track your development. I think so. If you have an opportunity to do them. We had one with Felipe Andrew, and they're on different topics, but what I can see is people growing during the week. I can actually step back and say, that guy's actually improved from Monday night to Thursday night. He's actually got better. I've had that experience myself, by the way. I'll tell you a couple of times. I've visited gyms. I've been in town for a week or something, and I've gone to a gym, gone to an academy, and on night one, I'm a disaster. So it's like you go in, you're like, whew, can't hang with any of these guys. Like, these guys are really good. Night two, you're still a disaster. By night three, okay, I'm surviving a little bit. Night four, hey, I caught that guy. And so that process of adaptation, that's from a sparring perspective. That process of like adaptation, I think can be really short, like in short, intense bursts. I think it can happen. In terms of technical prowess, I think it can also happen, especially if you're being introduced to something new. So there's two guys, I've forgotten. I know it's Kamil Wilke is one of them. I've got the other guy, Szynski, is it? I can't remember his surname. Two Polish guys, they do leg lock camps, and I know of anybody who's attended those, they've said they've come away with a chapter of techniques, you know, because it's a single topic camp. Single topic, introducing just one aspect of the game, and because it's single topic, it's really intense, and you learn really well. So like, look, camps for me, if you're looking to really fast track, the question is, ask yourself, why am I looking to fast track? Am I really in that much of a hurry? Maybe not. Okay, let's have a look at the next question. Yeah. Apologies. Okay. What's your opinion on Craig Jones and Gordon Ryan's rivalry, etc.? Do you think it has helped the popularity of the sport? I have to tell you guys that I know that they have a rivalry, but I know nothing of it, and I don't care. And everybody tells me stories like I know them. It's weird, right? So here's a weird, where the online world and the real world intersect. People assume you know things that are happening online, but you don't. So they talk to you like it's like you know. So they look at you and they tell you a story, and they're like, "Oh, that's like such a thing." And they use a phrase or they use a term, and you go, "I have no idea what that means." And you have to ask them, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Oh, you know, it's about Craig Jones. You know what he said to Gordon, and Gordon said this back." And in one ear, out the other. Couldn't give a monkeys. Actually, couldn't give a damn. I couldn't give less of a damn. It is literally nothing to me. Literally, I have no clue what's going on. I have no interest in it. I don't want to know what's going on. And it literally washes over me. And I've discovered that this is like, because I have a really curated social media timeline. I don't have any of this on it, so I've no clue. But I know that they do have a rivalry, and the question is does it impact the popularity of jiu-jitsu? No, I don't think so. Not even like, I think it's good for jiu-jitsu guys to talk about and gossip about in the gym, and did you see this and did you see that, and maybe share stuff on Instagram. But it definitely doesn't promote the sport. Like, I mean, it might promote their brands, but it doesn't promote the sport of jiu-jitsu. Look, I'll come back to it again. 10,000 people at the Las Vegas Masters. 10,000 competitors at the Las Vegas Masters last week. How many of them were there because of Craig Jones and Gordon Ryan's rivalry? I'd say 0. I can't remember the numbers from the European kids, but I can tell you it was something like 2,000 kids. 2,000 kids. How many of those kids were like, "Mom, Dad, Craig Jones said this to Gordon Ryan online. Can I join jiu-jitsu now, please?" 0. There's a couple of people have made impacts, I think, on jiu-jitsu, that like they've brought jiu-jitsu into the public consciousness. I think Joe Rogan is probably the biggest one of those names. Maybe you can look at the likes of Tom Hardy and stuff like that, Keanu Reeves or anything like that. You know, you can look at those guys and say, "Oh, they do jiu-jitsu. That's cool." The Gracie family obviously brought it into the public consciousness through the UFC and through things like that. But I think other than that, the main thing that's driving the popularity is the fact that it's a really, really good thing to do. People talk really positively about it once they come and do it. And the IBJJF structure has given us these world championships, these masters championships, kids championships and so on, that are really reliable and really sustainable over time. And that's really what's driving the popularity. So I hope that answers the question. If by the way, it sounded like I was struggling to raise the enthusiasm to talk about it. It's because I was. Because I find it a really dull subject. I find it a really irritatingly... It's like someone talking to me. Did you see what happened in EastEnders last night? No, I didn't. Because I had things to do. Books to read and stuff like that, you know? That's not to say I just sit around reading a book all day. I mean, I do watch TV and I do, like, watch stuff on Instagram, but just not that, I guess. Just not the ins and outs of people's lives, which brings me to the last question, which I am cringing hard about because I'm not sure whether to answer it or not. This may not make the edit, so let's see how it goes. Tell the story about banning the Bulls rash guard. This is the Chicago Bulls rash guard, a copy of it, which is beautiful looking, by the way. It's a lovely looking rash guard. I grew up in the 1990s. Well, I was a teenager in the 1990s, so I knew all about... Michael Jordan was everywhere. Scottie Pippen, that great Chicago Bulls team of the 1990s. That was a thing. That was a cultural movement in the 1990s. So whenever I see a Bulls cap, a Bulls rash guard, somebody like that, or Bulls rash guard, Bulls t-shirt, Bulls jersey, I instantly know why that's a thing. And it's because of Michael Jordan, and it's because of that superb team. Probably one of the best sporting teams of all times. So when this rash guard appeared on the mat with the Bulls emblem and stuff like that, I looked at it and I went, man, that's a good looking rash guard. That's really nice. It appeared on my mat. I was like, well, it's nice, cool. I would consider getting one of those. And then we were talking about it afterwards, and I was like, that's a cool rash guard. And one of the guys goes, yeah, you know what it means? And I'm like, yeah, Chicago Bulls. And he said, no, it doesn't mean Chicago Bulls. I'm like, what does it mean then? And he began to explain to me. So here's how dumb I am. Here's how disconnected from... No, I'm glad that I'm disconnected from this world. I am very, very happy to not have understood some of the phrases that this guy was using, because if I did understand them, it would make me stupider. So he starts talking to me, and if you don't know the story, I'll give you a brief synopsis. There are allegedly someone who I may have mentioned in this podcast previously has a certain lifestyle that would be described as a swingers lifestyle, right? You know, if you grew up watching Eurotrash, you know what the hell I'm talking about. And it's allegedly a very famous grappler has this lifestyle with his girlfriend. And this rash guard is in reference to a few terms that are used in pornography to refer to that lifestyle. So I'm not going to say them because I want to get through the YouTube filter, and I encourage you not to Google them. But I'll give you how stupid this guy is here. No, not stupid. I keep saying that. I'll give you how ill-informed I am. As we're talking about this, the guy turns around and says, I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, oh, do you not know? And I was like, well, what do I not know? I obviously don't. And he goes, oh, yeah, well, this guy is a cook. And I went, mm-hmm. And he keeps talking, and I'm going, what does he cook? Like, in my mind, I'm like, he's a cook. So, and then he starts talking about his sexual lifestyle, and I'm like, what has that got to do with cooking? what's like he's got a YouTube channel where he makes lasagnas. I don't know what, and how is this related? And then through context, I realize, oh, okay, and then I figure out what it's short for, what the cook thing is short for. I go, okay, right. Okay, so that's what that's about. And then I realised with the Bulls, he starts telling me about the Bulls thing and what that's about, because I didn't understand what that was. And because, I didn't know the term at the time. I know it now, unfortunately. I'm sad that I know it, to be honest, but there we go. And then he explains that to me. And I looked and I said, okay. So I'm like, so you're telling me that this rash guard refers very specifically to the alternative sexual lifestyle of a famous grappler? And he went, yeah. And I went, okay, get it off my mats. Get it off it now. No one's going to wear that anymore. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear about it. And he was like, it's a bit of an overreaction, isn't it? I said, no. I said, if I walked in and there was a rash guard here saying, fuck you, I would say, get that off mats. Don't wear that rash guard. I said, we have to have some standards. We have to have some things that we kind of hold ourselves to. Some standard we hold ourselves to. Something in our culture. And I can understand why people were pissed off, because I think 3 people had the rash guard then, and I know they're not cheap. Rash guards aren't cheap. What are they, 50, 60 quid? So, you know, I'm sorry that they can't wear them, but also I'm not sorry that people in my gym don't walk around wearing sexually explicit terminology, no matter whether it's an innuendo or not. I'm not sorry. No, I'm not sorry. That's fine by me. And so I'm not particularly sorry that people spend 50 quid on a rash guard with a sexual innuendo and then can't wear it, wherein I've got like 14 and 15-year-olds sharing the mat with them. So the explanation here is that at some stage or other, we have to have some sort of cultural standard that we hold ourselves to. Now, at the top end of that standard is the likes of Gracie Barra gyms or other gyms around the world, where they say you must wear our gi, our rash guards, our shorts, our spats. This is the uniform of the academy. Nobody can wear anything else, not even visitors who have to rent or purchase one of those gis or uniforms. I can see the merit in that based upon what the story I'm telling you now. I can also see the merit of it in terms of standards of hygiene and uniformity and stuff like that as well, where you're saying to them, well, look, your gi has to be of a certain standard, your rash guard has to be of a certain standard, and so on. I can see all of those merits, and obviously I can see the financial implications of it as well, in terms of having a gym where you turn around to people and you say, look, who would you rather give the money to? Kings, Tatami, whatever, or would you rather give it to your academy? And most people who are decent people would say, well, I would sooner give it to you because you're the small businessman, but other people want the cheaper gi. I don't want the gi that looks cool and stuff like that. I can understand about it. So I can see both sides. But in terms of our academy, so we don't allow offensive slogans and we don't allow rips and tears, right? That's what we're looking for here. We don't allow dirty gear, we don't allow damaged gear, and we don't allow offensive gear. So we have, these are pretty much our standards. And how we've got to the stage or the phase here where we think that it is just normal to take terms and terminology that's used in pornography as training gear, where we're sharing the mats with younger guys, young teenagers who know what we're talking about. They have access to the internet just the same as us. And how we've got to a stage where the most popular people in jiu-jitsu in terms of their internet exposure are happy just to talk about these things and to use this stuff back and forth. And we engage with it. We go, yeah, this is our sport. This is cool. This is not. No, this is stuff. I know it goes on. It goes on in football and stuff like that as well. You hear about all these stories in the background of football, and you know, it obviously makes the headlines and stuff like that. And there's rumor mills going around about certain players and things like that. Of course, that's happened forever, but it's never been part of our consciousness. And nobody ever came to football training with Robbie Fowler t-shirt with a line of coke on it or anything else like that. And that never happened. It's always something that is outside of the culture itself of sport. It's something that's happened as an unfortunate side effect. But here we are. This is it. 2025. This is normal. This is okay somehow. So I don't know. I sound like, and when I said it, I was doing it and I was talking about it, and one guy was like, "Oh man, you're such a fuddy duddy. You're such an old fart." And I was like, "Am I really? Really? Or maybe it's the children who are wrong," as Principal Skinner might say. I don't know. I can't really verbalize it here because I can't use the terminology. I don't want to sully up our timeline here with words that are used essentially as pornographic terms. I don't want to do that, and I don't want to swear too much. and I don't want to call people what I think of them, right? But I'll do it happily on the mat tomorrow night when you see me tomorrow. If you walk in onto my mat, I'll give you my full opinion on all of this bullshit and how it is. I'll give it to you both barrels, no problem. But for now, for the sake of this podcast and for the sake of the question, that is the story about the Bulls rash guard. There it is. But I've also turned around, I've said to people, you cannot wear that rash guard there because it's got an offensive slogan on it. You know, you got to make sure that you have to be in keeping with what we think of as the culture here. And the culture here is we're a martial arts club. We have certain ethical guidelines that we stand over, and we have certain uniform standards that we have to ensure that everybody can have a good time, that nobody has to look at something that's offensive to them. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I find that particular rash guard and that thing offensive. I'm not a highly religious man or anything else like that, but I find the terms used as offensive. I don't like them. I don't like to see them, hear about them, anything else like that. When people talk about them in general, I find them kind of morally repugnant. I'm happy to say it. But so it's not going to appear on my mat. So there you go. You got your story. Will that make the edit? That's a massive question. I don't know. But in terms of positive vibes, let's move on. Again, to repeat again, that's the end of the questions, by the way. I won't be saying anything further or more controversial. In terms of future episodes, the Drysdale one's coming next. Do give it a listen out in about 2 weeks' time. Keep your eye out for it. Second thing, go back and listen into Lindsay Radigan talking nutrition. Superb episode as well. If you have a question, you can submit it. barry@kyuzo.ie on Instagram. Hit it in the comments. Do whatever you want to do. Comment on this video here on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe. This is how we grow. It's how we grow everything, apparently. So you guys apparently are the compost of this podcast. No, compost is kind of made from shit, isn't it? Sorry about that. Yeah, all right. Well, you guys are the fertilizer. No, that's not any better. Oh, look, we'll leave it. You guys are the people who will make this podcast grow. There, that's what I should have said in the first place. Okay, thank you very much for watching. It is episode 12 or 13 next with Robert Drysdale. Make sure to tune into that. Like, subscribe, share, etc. Thanks very much, and I'll see you on the mat.